Hello, this is Swanö from Edge of Sanity, and today we're going to talk about Blood of My Enemies, which is of course a cover version from Manowar. Yeah, of course it's one of those songs like, hey, what the hell, why are you doing a Manowar song, you know? And honestly, at the time, Manowar may not have been one of the hottest metal bands in the world to make cover versions from, but it actually started way earlier than that. There was we were supposed to do a video for When All Is Said from the Unorthodox album, and there was supposed to be a 12-inch release with only When All Is Said on it, and it would have a remix that I went up to Stockholm to do with Rex Gislén, and it would also have some re-recordings of songs from the first album. They will all be available later on a later reissue. So don't worry. Yeah, for this we recorded Blood of My Enemies. And Blood of My Enemies is my favorite Manowar song, and is also one of those songs that I didn't know for a very long time who it was. My oldest brother Ingjald gave me a mixtape for Christmas, and there was no label on it, nothing, who is this and who is that. And that mixtape was, that I later found out, called Hell Comes to Your House. It's a release from Music for Nations. And the first song was, of course, Blood of My Enemies. And I just loved that song. But even at this young age, when I received this tape, I felt that it sounded a little bit like it could use a little bit more balls in the performance and the production. And I know it's, you know, oh, don't say this about Manowar, but there was something about it that it just lacked a little bit of that chug that later became a thing. And I felt that I wanted to do a cover version. I know Benny, our drummer, was a big Manowar fan. That might have helped. But I always had this vision of that song being more down-tuned with a guitar tuning and having more of that kind of that was kind of a, I could hear that with like the entombed guitar sound. You know, I felt that kind of rhythm, it's kind of cool, and I could show off my clean singing skills and, you know, go for it a little bit more like this, what was so successful with Unorthodox there, with the clean singing of Enigma and this and that. But the day came when we were even supposed to go and make the video, I think, but there was never any kind of information of where we were going and who was shooting the video, what we were going to do in it. So that whole thing just fizzled out, and there we were. We had the remix made in Montezuma. We had the video edit of When All Is Said made, and I think that's also going to be on one of the reissues later. Just give it some time. And yeah, of course, we recorded Blood of My Enemies for the Spectral Sorrows, and I think it might have been because I mentioned it to Snowy Shaw, the drummer of, you know, King Diamond, Memento Mori, and also a solo artist. He and I had a long conversation in the hotel bar one late night. I think we spent, I don't know, it felt like we lost track of time anyway, talking about Kiss and metal and stuff. And then we talked about Manowar, and we even mentioned him as Eric Adams something on the original thanks list for the Spectral Sorrows. So Manowar came up, and I must have told him then, yeah, we made a Manowar cover, and he must have been like, wow, cool that you did this. And because we were at the time kind of collecting material for the Spectral Sorrows, I might have just said to the guys, hey, let's do that Blood of My Enemies again. Yeah, we already know it, and we know it works, but from a production standpoint, the 1993 version is a whole lot cooler, and we had also then tuned down the guitars even deeper at that time. So yeah, we were like 5 steps down, and it was really heavy with the guitar tone on the Spectral Sorrows, and I think my singing on it is pretty okay actually. And the remix that I did for it, I remixed the whole album, plus the Pernicious Anguish track that we recorded also during the Spectral Sorrows, which is, of course, is the first Edge of Sanity song ever written, but more about that later in another episode. And I think Blood of My Enemies was just like one of those things that we felt it would I felt in one way it would be like, what the fuck are they doing? What is this album, Spectral Sorrows? It's like a super strange compilation of weird stuff. You know, there's a death metal song, a couple of doom songs, a gothic rock song, and all that kind of stuff. But I think in the end, at the time when death metal had become a little bit more streamlined and face it, a little bit more popular also, a lot of people were doing it. It was something that people seemed to enjoy about the album was that it had variation, and because Manowar was, you know, they still had a lot of cred, and yeah, people felt it was a cool thing, because also people who liked Manowar maybe growing up, who now liked death metal, they thought, fuck, it's a cool song, it's heavy, who cares that there are no growling on it, and yeah, it really worked out, and it's one of my favorite songs on this album, and of course, especially the remix.